Hello.
Hello, hello.
All right. Welcome to Wednesday afternoon. And if you thought you were going to get, somebody said I thought SNL was Saturday Night Live. So if you joined us because you thought the guest of Saturday Night Live was going to be here, we're sorry to disappoint you.
Welcome.
It's just us. So today we thought we would talk about like the prep work leading up to the Kimberbell digital dealer mystery quilt. That's a mouthful.
It is.
Called Wallflower.
It is a wallflower.
Yes.
Stuff.
That's hard to.
It's a lot.
It's a lot
it is
going
a lot.
on.
And it is warm. I think that's ironing. So yeah. It was like, oh.
It's definitely warmer back here, though.
Oh, you are definitely not wrong on that.
Yes, I felt bad because I did turn the heat down a little bit yesterday, and I know you were freezing, but it was really hot in here.
Yeah, it's all good.
We had a classroom full of people, and it was so much fun.
So, though we are specifically talking about the Wallflower mystery quilt, the steps that we're taking, it doesn't really matter what project you're doing. This would be the prep for you if you're doing any quilting project that has multiple blocks and different things like that. So all of the Kimberbell projects, you know, the large collection for wall hangings and quilts and ladder quilts, all of those kinds of, any of those, this would be the same setup for that. And it doesn't have to be Kimberbell either, but you're not wasting your time if you aren't doing the quilt, I guess is where I was going. It's still very beneficial information because it doesn't really matter what it is that you're doing. It's just, we're going to talk about how to prep all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Because without proper prep work, it's a little bit more, I always feel a little more frenzied. Like this is one of those things that we can kind of do at our own pace as kind of leisurely before we jump in.
I will say doing it with a buddy was fantastic. So Sarah cut and I sorted.
Yep.
And that worked really well. We got a lot done in a really short period of time, which was really nice. Not that we all have buddies that help us with those things, but it's certainly not a bad thing to have a buddy.
No, it's not at all. So hopefully everybody can hear us, and if you have questions about what we're talking about or just questions in general about prepping your fabric, a Kimberbell project, how to keep organized or whatever, plop those up there and we'll answer those on the fly. We're pretty good about that.
We will do our best.
So we still have not seen the full reveal. I just saw a Kimberbell email that said that they are considering letting dealers in on a bigger picture if they get enough people inquiring about it. So I'm going to send my little thing in saying yes. So
everybody has asked. So
everybody has asked. But we do have like a general
color scheme
idea. We just haven't seen all of the other designs, but we can kind of see based on the cutting instructions, like the names of the blocks, kind of get a feel for
what some of the embellishments are very specific. So you go, okay, well, this one's going to have rhinestones in it because there's rhinestones for that block. And there's some different, so there were some buttons that were created specifically for this quilt, but there was some other embellishments I've never seen before. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how everything actually comes together.
But it's my type of mystery quilt because I see the fabrics. There's a predetermined fabric choices. I know what I'm getting involved in, and that tells me a lot about a quilt.
What am I going to like the finished? If I know I like the color scheme, then I'll at least mostly like it.
Yes, I'm much more likely to like the whole thing.
And, with a mystery quilt, I am very grateful that we got the entire year's worth of cutting because we can actually prep that. So it's not literally here's this month's and you have no idea how it's all going together. So we are literally seeing the whole fabric picture. And then that's part of what we're going to talk about today is how to get that organized so you can stay organized all year. That's
right. That is right. So with your kit, you will get some cutting instructions. And if you've ever done a Kimberbell project, you know how their instructions are written. I always read over the cutting part to determine whether or not I think it's right.
I don't want to do it like that. I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah, or maybe I think it's not going to be the best use of the fabric or whatever, and so on.
So for Kimberbells, anyways, you'll get a list of the fabric color. So you get a little picture. You actually get a name and what size the fabric is. And then for this, it tells you the purpose, which includes the block month that it's going to go to. So you can sort all of that. And then what size pieces. So this is overwhelming for me to go, okay, I have this piece of fabric. How do I get all of the pieces that I need out of there to make sure I don't screw that up, you know, and take too much out of the middle or something. So Kimberbell is very, very good with their cutting instruction, that you get a picture of it. If it's directional, it will show you the direction that the fabric should be going. So like this one in particular, it says right there that it's directional. So it shows you all of those things.
I would just like to point out though, that one is directional, but you're cutting a square.
It doesn't matter for that particular, it's 2x2s. So it's really important that it's directional. I'm like, okay,
was really funny.
I'm just going to cut them on an angle. You know? We'll just mess it all up. Right. But it is definitely, it's not overwhelming. If you've not done this before, you don't have to figure out the math. They did that for you. It's all there. It's color coded, which makes it nice and straightforward.
Right.
You also get the embellishment cutting, if there's cutting, or just what goes where, all of that. Get rid of that. Oh, maybe we should read that.
They're not on auto ship. That was the gist.
Okay. Good to know.
Yep. And to email or call back, and they'll get that expedited to us.
Never mind. And then stabilizer information as well. And then if there is a breakdown for some of that, they give you that as well. Mm-hmm. So very, very detailed information, which is great, especially if you've not done that before.
Right.
I mean, that's a big difference. So you get the little visuals for the embellishments plus the listing, just like you do for fabrics. Mm-hmm. So it's not confusing, even for a beginner when it comes to how all of that's going to go together.
Yes. So when I get a Kimberbell kit, the first thing that I do before I do anything else is I hone in on the fabric scrap, which is the bane of my existence.
It is definitely a problem, in our opinion, because you get, for instance, F27 here. Is that, am I even close?
Yeah, right there.
There we go. So that is a fabric scrap, which means it is supposed to be a 5x5 piece of fabric.
Yes.
According to their cutting, that's what a scrap is 5x5.
Yes.
So if you take those measurements and add them together, we've got 3.5. Yeah, we talked about this before.
Yeah,
it doesn't add up right.
So you've got 2, 3 by 2.5.
I was reading the wrong one. So 3 by 1.5 width this wise, which is exactly 5 inches.
Yes.
And you've got 2.5 and 2.5 here, which is exactly 5 inches.
Right.
So what if your fabric isn't completely square?
Right.
Or God forbid you start your fabric like we're going to talk about here in just a second.
Right.
And it shrinks.
And you are not going to have enough fabric. And that is so.
It is very typical.
And, you know, when we first started making Kimberbell kits, we cut them like she said. And then inevitably we got angry emails from people telling us that we did not know what we were doing because
we didn't provide them enough fabric.
We didn't provide them with enough fabric. We know that we cut a 5x5 inch square. We also know that you probably starched your fabric, which means that it's not 5x5
it's no longer
anymore.
Maybe it's 5 by 4.5 or 4 3/4, but that still won't get you the cut that you need.
It doesn't get you the cut, and we understood the frustration. And so, just as an FYI, if moving forward, like from I don't know the last year or so,
I think it's more than a year, but yes,
we cut our scraps 6x6 so that everybody has
more than enough
of fabric. So if you're
You'll
working
have scrap from your scrap
if you're working with a kit that you purchased here, you don't have to hone in on that little section to make sure that you have enough fabric. We have made sure that will never be a problem. But if you're cutting your own kit,
pay attention to that when you go to start cutting.
That's right. Or you're cutting a kit of someone else's that you purchased. If it says that you're going to need all 5 inches of that, do not starch that fabric ahead of time because you will not have enough your the fabric is going to shrink.
It will not be a 5x5 square when you're finished, no matter what you do. It might be close,
right?
But it won't be 5x5, and then you won't have enough,
right? And we don't know enough about what we're actually doing with this to know if this is going to be something that we actually have to piece.
Right? Is it just something that's going to go? Here's my placement square, and I put it over top of it, or is it
oversized
a pieced quilt block that's going to end up 4x4?
Right.
That I need actual 2.5 by 2.5 squares.
Right. We don't
if
know
it's
that.
The quilt aspect, I have to have a 2.5 by 2.5 square, or it's not going to mathematically work out to actually come out to the size that I need. If it's just a scrap, who cares?
Right.
But unfortunately, we don't have that information.
We don't have that information
this time around.
So yeah, double check your scrap pieces, find out the information you can, and then I go through and I visually look at the pieces and I kind of look at the diagrams, and if it looks like I'm using the entirety of the fabric, so like on this one here, like they make it look like we're using most of everything that's on there. So then I just kind of in my head, I'm double checking to make sure that if it shrinks in, am I still going to be good enough? I can promise you that if you purchased your kit from us, based on the quantity of fabrics that we have left over, you should have zero problems.
You won't have any issues
with any of these. I had one problem with one fabric. Lisa's finger happens to be on it, but that is because I had a salvage edge, and every once in a while you get a salvage edge with like a big white chunk next to it. There was a flaw in that corner piece of the fabric, so I need a small scrap of this.
One more tiny piece of that little guy, but that's not a biggie. I'm sure can come up with something there. So
because that was one that didn't have a ton of extra fabric.
Yeah, it literally uses like the whole piece. Of course, that's the one that
exactly
nowhere to shift and get there. So, and then there was the. Why would you put that there one?
Yeah.
This one here, both of us would cut those from up here, not over here. Why wouldn't you keep this big long piece of fabric for your scraps of leftovers? Mm-hmm. So we would both cut this up here, not over here.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to change that. It's okay. You don't have to follow
as long as you can get the
cut from, don't skimp on it.
No.
But as long as there's actually the room, it's all good.
Yes. And if you are getting a fabric kit from us, we have been notifying people that the kits are ready. We have shipped them out. Part of our delay was we were waiting for a fabric that was supposed to be in this month, border and backing. But we got notification that they were holding 3 of the fabrics hostage with this one, but this one, the border and backing, isn't going to be in until March. And so we decided that we will just ship that as a second shipment to you because we wanted you to have your fabrics way before then. So if you're going through your kit, you should have gotten an email with a notification that
your December fabric for the backing and the border will not be in the kit yet, but we will send that out as soon as it becomes available.
Yes.
We'll get that cut out.
So you'll be able to prep everything else besides
Which
that.
Which not a big deal, because guess what? You don't need it till December, so it's all good.
So
there's no little bits that are in little pieces anywhere.
Why do we starch the fabric?
Oh, so many reasons.
Right.
But it's going to help you when you're embroidery. It's going to help hold those stitches and not chew the fabric up, so it will hold its shape and stay together. If you are using it as a background fabric, it's even more important. Where if it's just an applique piece, you should still do it, but it doesn't have the
big
stitch.
Of a,
holy crap, how many times are you going to hit that with a needle? As if it's a background fabric. So we starch first so that it cuts cleaner, so you get better cuts. And then it also is a more stable environment to put all those stitches into.
And one of the things that we've mentioned this a few times, what happens when the fabric is wet? So 2 things happen, right? It shrinks, but then I also have the ability to stretch it back out.
You can kind of manipulate it, but by doing so, it will return back to its shape later on. So you don't want to. That shouldn't be the answer to make it the size that you need, because you're going to end up regretting that later on too. So you also need to be careful when you have wet fabric. If you've got a dark red or something, it can bleed onto something else. Maybe it's your ironing pad.
Yeah.
Maybe it's other fabrics that are in your kit and you've starched them and you're layering them, you know, just setting them aside and then you iron them afterwards.
Yep.
So you want to pay attention if you are using some really dark, especially red specifically, fabrics. If they get really wet, you can get that bleeding effect.
Right.
And then when you go to iron them, you have to be careful that you don't burn it. So we got some tips. We got some little techniques that we like to do. So we'll talk about those here probably first.
Yeah. For sure. So we have all of our fabrics and we're getting ready to start. So we wanted to just give you this little demonstration. It's not the first time that if you've been watching us for a while, it's not the first time we've ever done this. But we have a little 3-inch square here and we're going to actually starch it. So let's prove it. So let's take the little 3-inch square over to the other mat here and just for there you go. You can see that we started 3 by 3. And now we're going to wet it down.
You can do that over here.
Yeah, then you can watch it.
Then I don't have to get the table up.
True.
All right. So I'm going to leave that right on.
Watch, this one won't shrink up at all.
I know, right?
Oh, there you go. You can see it.
Yep. So it's drawing in here.
It's not as dramatic as sometimes.
Sometimes it's like, whoo, there's some that do a crazy amount and some that don't. But you can see that we're up almost 1/4 of an inch in this corner here. So I got that really wet. And it's sitting in that puddle. So, yep, that's got some starch in there. So we're going to come over here and I dry my hands. I'm going to have some stiff jeans here. All right, so we just have this little pad here, which is all we really want to talk about. So as I said, this is wet. How wet do you get your fabric when you do this?
Probably pretty close to that.
Yeah,
I mean,
I didn't know that answer, but so just giving it a spritz isn't going to really do you a whole lot of good.
No,
it's not going to it's not going to make it stiff.
No,
which you want it to be stiff.
Yeah,
it will cut so much easier and cleaner if it's not wimpy underneath your ruler.
Right.
And it will stitch a whole lot better. So when you're fusing and things, it holds the fabric, the stabilizers better all the way around.
Yes.
But if it's this wet and I take my iron and I just, what's going to happen?
Sizzle.
It's going to sizzle for sure. It might well be dinner, right? So instead of actually pressing on, I just want to hover above it.
Right. So
I'm gonna, we don't want to press onto the mat yet. We just want to hover over top. And you can actually start seeing the edges. They start getting lighter.
Yep.
So there's spots that'll start getting lighter. And that will basically kind of air dry to some extent. So we're just going to hover over the fabric. It's the hover method. There's a whole video on this.
There is. It's like the Hoover method.
There actually might be more than one. But so just hovering over there, you will probably find that your fabric is going to draw in a little bit more by doing this. So as it's drying, it's going to suck in a little bit more too. And then once you have, it's still pretty wet. Did you hear the sizzle?
I did. I heard the sizzle a little bit.
Don't know if you guys can hear the sizzle, but and then you can slowly start kind of getting a little on there. Yep, it's still wet. So once you have that, you can see the color change as it's actually drying. All right. And we just want to get that completely dry.
Right. And we want to make sure that we're kind of pulling up the iron a little bit as we are pressing.
Move.
Because if we really drag it across, that's how
Anybody know what happens when you do this?
We make it the size that it started out to be.
You can stretch it and you can get like this corner will have a little bunny ear or whatever. So yeah, you want to make sure that you are not doing this. You can kind of do this, but you don't want to just do this.
Right.
That's not, obviously this doesn't matter. It's just a scrap.
Right.
But doing this is what you do to your shirt.
Yes. I mean, sometimes though, but even the same thing happens sometimes in our shirts, right? Or a pair of pants. I always like to tell the story about it. We've all purchased a shirt or a pair of pants that when we went to the store and we tried it on, everything fit well. And then we washed it and we put it on and like it doesn't fit right. Like it's twisting or like the inseam is in the wrong space.
It's like all of a sudden that seam that goes between your legs is no longer between your legs. It's like halfway back and you're like, this is no longer comfortable. Right. What happened to my favorite pair of jeans, funny, right?
Yeah. And that's because as soon as we introduce water to something, the fabric goes back to the natural straight of grain. And so the same thing happens to our quilt fabrics and our decorator fabrics and all that stuff. There is an actual straight of grain. We have cross and straight grain weaved in there. And when we distort something, and then we get it wet again, it goes back to its natural state, which is how we get that weird shrinking that happens.
Yeah, this kind of...
Yep.
It's now going that way.
It does that sometimes.
Just a little bit.
Right, because we didn't straighten the grain before we
cut.
We cut.
I just need a piece.
I just need a piece.
Yep. So you will sometimes see that. So when you take your big piece, which I think this one was a fat quarter originally, and you're going to starch the whole fat quarter, and then you're going to air dry it, and then you're going to, so this was where that came out of, which doesn't really match up anymore. It's close, but it's definitely got a little angle to it. So you want to starch the whole piece.
Yes.
And this particular is let's show the selvage on that. Just so I don't know if you guys can see. First of all, it really went to the right on the whole thing. And then there are little puckers all along. So sometimes when you do it, depending on that fabric and the solids the salvage can really go crazy. Even if the fabric doesn't, the salvage could. So when you go to cut, you want to make sure that your one side of your piece isn't completely wonky. You may need to straighten out your edge to actually make those cuts.
Yep. All right. So Marilyn has a question here. If I use a fusible woven on the back of the fabric, do I still need to starch the fabric too? They are not the same. So yes.
Yep.
I would always starch my fabric if the fabric is something that I can adhere starch to. So there are some fabrics that you're going to come across
that you don't want to get wet like that.
So assuming that the fabric that I'm using for a project like this, I'm always going to starch first. My rule of thumb is, and all rules are made to be broken. So I usually starch on the back side of the fabric unless I know for sure that I'm going to be using a fusible woven to it. Then I typically starch on the front and then fuse to the back. Most of the time, even with the starch on there, I don't have problems with the fusible adhering. But depending on the fusible that you're using and the quality of that, the starch does, I don't want to say it puts a film on there, but it does. There is some chemical in
and it
the
gives
fabric.
It a different fuse.
So it can fuse slightly different. When we are following Kimberbell instructions, they oftentimes have you starch and then they have you put a fusible woven on the backgrounds of...
Yes, so the background pieces, not necessarily your applique pieces.
Because a lot of Kimberbell has a lot of satin stitching, and satin stitching tends to be very hard on fabrics.
Yep.
Also, if it is a solid fabric, these fabrics there are less threads per square inch in that. So even when that is in an applique piece, they oftentimes
get eaten up a little bit more.
Have you put the fusible web on the back
or
of it.
as a color block if it's a light and it's going on a dark. So those are some other times you might see that fusible for some other reason.
So Lisa and I talked about doing the fusible, the backing, which we use EZT, and having that pre-done. But since we haven't actually seen the blocks yet, there are times when I'm doing a block and I think to myself, we pre-quilted this and I starched the fabric. Was the fusible woven
actually
really necessary? Or am I just adding one more thing to the project?
adding one more dollar in cost and adding another pound, not a pound,
but it
another
feels
ounce
like
of
they
weight,
always feel
you know,
heavy.
So it's heavier. Plus it costs money to put that in there. So
Right.
we plan to kind of look at the different blocks and see if we can get away with some of them, maybe not. So if it's got heavy stitching in it, we're still going to put a fusible backing on
Yes.
it.
But
if it's just lightweight or it's mostly, raw edge appliques or fusible,
right,
we'll let you know.
We're gonna play around with it and see, because we do hear that people say, "Wow, the it's getting heavy. It's not soft and cuddly." So
and this is so expensive.
It is expensive.
It is, yeah.
So we're definitely gonna play around with that and see if there are places where we think that we can omit the fusible woven on the back of it and your block still look the same way. Then we're definitely going to let you know what our opinion is on that. What kind of starch do you use? Spray one, a spray of one of the old way with water and starch in it. So honestly, most of the time we are using Best Press. Best Press is easy to get your hands on. And while the smaller bottles are not the most economical way to purchase it, you can purchase it in like a gallon jug, which is much more affordable in the big picture, and then just refill your little spray bottle here. I have used like a concentrated liquid starch before, and big pieces of fabric that works pretty good from, but it does leave a residue.
Get that white.
Yeah, you get kind of like a milky, chalky, powdery thing. I have seen people do all kinds of things. I've seen people make their own starch using, like, I don't know, vodka or something like that. I honestly, I pick and choose where to put my money, and I don't know that even though I use a ton of starch, I still don't think that I would try to pinch a penny and make my own starch. I still think that this
is actually
they call it a starch alternative.
It's an alternative, so it actually uses the word alternative right on the label. And so, I mean, but it does everything that you need. It doesn't. I have gotten a residue if I go too fast and I almost burn my fabric.
Right.
But as long as you do it properly, like we've talked about, you're not going to get a film and a residue on there. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So we have definitely found what we like, and we both are pretty loyal to that.
Right.
But is there other things out there? Sure. One of the other things that a lot of people, I haven't seen it as much lately. What is the stronger one? Material Magic. And that does get everything stiffer, but it's more expensive, and you don't need all of that.
Yeah, it dries differently.
And that one I have gotten a residue.
If you try to force dry that one.
If you force dry that one, you're going to get a residue on that one. So that one, you really have to let it air dry and then you press it. So it takes longer as well.
And to me, Material Magic is an embroidery stabilizer. So I use Material Magic when I'm doing like maybe a very stitch intensive embroidery design that I'm really, it's gonna just be a lot. I don't think the Kimberbell quilts amount to enough embroidery that Material Magic is the way to go.
Agreed.
But if you love Material Magic,
by all means. I mean, if you've got a flow, then keep going with it.
That's right.
Like I said, we are very loyal because we like how it works.
Right.
It comes in different scents. If you are like, I like my to smell this way, but you can get it in scented. We generally carry just the scent free in stores so that we don't have any allergy or anything issues like that when what we sell, but we can order you whatever you want too.
That's right.
So, I laid this out so you can kind of see, this was, again, a fat quarter, and it was starched, so the edges aren't completely square. I squared up the edge, and then I made a pass 3 inches wide, and then I cut the 4s. I actually laid these on top of one another, so I had less cuts there once I got those strips. And it has this diagram. So I cut, and I did, these are pieces now that are in our scrap bin over here, but I'd made 2 rows, and then I laid them on top of one another, and then I cut 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that was those pieces. These were 6.5 by 6.5, so I actually measured 13, and then I just did this. So I didn't waste all of it the second time because it was large enough piece left over. I didn't want to waste that. So you can see how laid out, and you just follow the guide. It's really straightforward and not confusing at all.
Yes. So, all right. So, oh yeah, Rebecca, she made the cutest placemats in my Jelly Roll Rug class yesterday. They were so cute. Oh my God. And she made all 4 of them. I can't wait to see. You're gonna have to send us a picture so we can see them all together. They were adorable, and class was a lot of fun. So thanks for sharing. Yeah, let's see, Marilyn. Oh yes, we love Easy Tea. It's funny, I was having a conversation this morning about fusibles with somebody, and we were talking about how different they are. But yeah, Easy Tea is I don't know, the best.
It has a very smooth, solid fuse.
It does.
You don't see little spots where you didn't get an adhesive, where you have an air pocket. Or it's just boom, it's done, and it's quick.
Yep.
You know, it's not like you got to do it 12 times to get every spot. It just grabs hold of that fabric and it works. And
Cindy mentioned Terrio Magic right as we were actually talking about it, so that was good timing.
Excellent.
Okay, so once we have all the pieces cut, we can start sorting them. And you can do this one of 2 ways. Like, you could sort them as you cut them, if that's easier for you to keep track of them.
Yep.
But a lot of times we just make cute little bags.
So because of the way we had our system, I went and I got actually 13, because there's 12 months and then there's the bonus block for this particular quilt. Again, if you're using some other project, you could label it, you know, this is the flower, this is the house, whatever, block 1, block 2, whatever. It doesn't have to, this one happens to be by the month, so that's what I labeled. So I just took big Ziploc bags, I labeled 1 for each month, and then there's a bonus for that extra one as well. And then as Sarah would finish a cut and bring it to me, I would look it up on the chart. And I had a whole pile because she started cutting before I started sorting. And it said for, let's just do this fabric here. So where is that? That is this one right here. So this is the fabric that we just talked about, the fat quarter of this pink stuff here. And it is February block background, 6.5 by 6.5. So now we need 2 of those. So you just go to your February bag, and those, they're not shut. I didn't shut any of them yet.
Okay.
And that's where those 2 go. So it's super easy to sort, and you just set everything in there. And then all of the other pieces happen to be already in there because we cut everything else while we were prepping.
Yes.
So, and then the next things, these little rectangular pieces go for May, and they are those pieces there, and that is going to be 8. So we could double check, but I already did that. So 8 4x3s. And so we get the May folder, or wherever that ended up. And those then go here.
Yep.
So that is literally, I did a really bad job there. All there is to sorting. So each piece here says March background. So you take that piece, and again, it shows you a picture of the fabric. It tells you the size that it's supposed to be, so you can make sure that you're grabbing the right piece. The backgrounds are easy. It's the little pieces here. Sometimes you have a 4x3 and a 4x2 or whatever, you know, so they're really close sometimes. So make sure that you're putting the right ones in the right spots, and then just find that. So I actually had the table laid out, and I laid them all out flat. And so I just, I opened all the bags ahead of time, so I could literally just chuck everything right in the bag.
Yep.
So starch and press your fabric, and then cut.
Yes.
Once you have that cut, again, we did the embellishments as well, and there is a cutting list for the embellishments. Everything is in there. So then we sorted everything once we had those pieces cut, and that's how you get organized. There's not 8 in there. Let's website.
And I think our website might say that our fabric kits are sold out. We actually have 2 more fabric kits available. So if anybody else wants to join in and you missed out on it, we need the 2 embellishment kits for those fabric kits. So they will be ready for sale for very soon. But if you send us an email and you tell me that you want it, I will tag your name on it and get those sent over to you, or you can pick them up soon. It shouldn't take too long to get the embellishment kit out. Not. A week not or so.
So once you get all your pieces, and again, we've got a couple more. So if you've been on the fence and this is like, oh, this actually looks a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, super straightforward. What are we going to do once we get our pieces and we've got it all there? So this is a mystery quilt, and it's also digital dealer.
Yes.
So for last year, the last Wednesday of the month previous, we did the following month's project.
Yes.
So January, that Wednesday, whatever it was, we did February's project.
Yes. And so because we're kind of getting a little bit of a late start on here, we will continue doing the last Wednesday of the month, but we'll start the last Wednesday of this month, and we're actually going to do January and February. We'll probably have the bonus block in there too. Yep. So, but there'll be 3 separate videos, and we are not going to do them in like a Facebook, YouTube live
thing like we have done. And after we start talking like the first few months of, okay, when you get your piece, you're going to load your quilting design, and then you're going to load your actual block design on top of that. This is then what you do. We probably won't repeat that in every video because the beginning steps will be the same.
Yep.
So we'll be focusing more, not that we won't be doing them, but the video won't be super long because you'll already know that information. We'll focus more on the techniques for the different blocks so that if there's any questions on that, we're have all of those details there.
Yeah. So what we'll do is anybody who is in our club, we will send you a little email notification with the link to both. I'll probably load them both to YouTube and Facebook just so they're both there. I'll send out a link and let you know that they're posted.
Yep.
And then you can just watch them.
And we'll probably do like a playlist in the YouTube because we have the ability to sort those out in there. We'll make a playlist that is specific for this quilt so you can know right where to go and find those if you're searching don't have the link.
Yeah, they won't be like private listings, so you can search and find them that way. If you didn't buy your kit from us,
we won't hide it.
You can join along too. Cindy is asking, what is the price of the fabric kit?
I think it's $213. It might be $216. It's one of those two and change. I don't remember the dollars.
Yeah, I didn't.
For the whole bundle.
Yeah, I didn't separate the fabric only. We basically did a full kit. If you already bought your designs from someplace else and you're just looking to get a fabric kit, you can, if you want to send me an email, I can probably math that backwards. Yep. But I unfortunately I don't know because I didn't price it that way. I did a bundle and then
designs only.
And then designs and embellishment only. In my mind, people didn't want to buy fabric only. I didn't even consider that they might buy their designs from someplace else.
Well, everybody that asked us, it was like, well, I just want to use my scraps.
Right.
You know, we started with just the bundle. We didn't have the other separate. And then we got people that asked, well, can I do this? And we were like, sure. So we added what they asked for. We didn't add everything, I guess. But we certainly can do that. If you want to just let us know, we can back into that number. But apologies. Yeah. But it was like $213 for all of the fabric, all of the designs, and the embellishment kit.
Yeah. Designs are $120.
Yep.
So
and then
I think the embellishment kit is
40. I think it's 40.
30. Yeah, I was going to
30
say
or
30
40,
or 40.
Somewhere in there, so you can have a rough idea of that.
No, anybody will be able to watch the videos. It just won't be as a YouTube link, and it won't have we'll talk about it in the afternoon. That Wednesday we'll be like, oh, we loaded the video up. Yep. So if you're not part of the club and you want to watch the video
or whatever, but it won't be the topic of the afternoon show, like what we're doing right now.
Right.
And You can always call and ask us too.
Yeah.
So I mean that's always a thing.
Yeah.
So
but this will enable everybody to have a shorter video because honestly, we're stitching it before you have the design, so you can't stitch along with us.
Right.
And we'll still have our little fun banter back and forth. But if it takes 20 minutes for us to stitch the fill part, we can just hit the pause button and then be like, "Hey, it's done." Movie magic.
We come up with things to ramble about while those 20 minute stitch outs are going on, but can't say they're always interesting.
No, sometimes they're
what
crazy.
You watched on the TV this weekend. But yeah, so no matter what your project is, if you get organized before you sit down to start, I can't tell you how nice and easy it is to be able to sit down and grab a bag and everything that I need, all of the parts, the embellishments, everything is there. So we have I don't know what that is, 24 by 18, maybe something like that 18 by 24-ish tub that we have our embellishment bag and all of the other bags. It's probably bigger than it needs to be, but it's on the shelf and we labeled it store sample of the 2025 Wallflower quilt. So we will actually be able to find said things when we sit down to actually do that.
What a concept.
Oh, it is a crazy concept. But having everything there so that you can just sit down. Do you want to pre-cut batting strips? You can. They're all going to be approximately the same size. You've got the 4x4 pieces and you've got the 6.5 by 8.5 pieces. So, I mean, they're pretty much going to be this square or that square. And the layout is available, so you can count, okay, I need this many of those and I need this many of those. You could pre-cut your batting if you would like to. I personally tend to, I need 6.5, or 8.5 wide so that I have an inch to cut, and I'll just do a strip off my batting, whatever roll or fold or whatever it has, and I'll get a whole strip and then I just lay it down. I do tend to save a little bit because I'm cutting right at the edge instead of the inch plus the inch.
Right.
I'm saving that little bit, but I don't know if it actually ends up saving me anything in the big picture. I honestly don't know that I ever paid that much attention.
No, and it's funny because I was thinking today, and maybe I did read it. Did it say if it was going to be in a 5x7 hoop or a 6x10 hoop? Does it say someplace? I feel like I saw it.
I don't know that I read that far.
Now I'm not entirely
the 6.5 by 8.5. So those larger squares, the background piece is 8.5 by 10.5, which means they're going to finish at 6.5 by 8.5. That's not going to work if you're doing the background quilting. So you certainly could fit in a smaller hoop, but if you're doing background quilting, you would need at least a 7 by 12 size hoop to do the quilting portion. Now, again, you can make those blocks without that. But we'll double check.
We should ask about that because, if we have an idea, then, I am let's prep it all. Now, I would even prep my stabilizers
and have everything that you need there. This many hoopings for this and this many hoopings for that. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
And call it,
Because the only thing I'd have to do then is have my thread.
Your thread. And quite frankly, unless those are threads that you use all the time, I'd keep them right in my project box.
Right.
Whatever size project box you're using or bag or whatever it is.
We know that those are going to fit with like our SnL thread bundle because they're all Kimberbell fabrics and things like that. So that's what I do. But I will send it. I will look and ask about sizes. Hoop sizes. And see. It's possible that I read it and it's like there's a tickle someplace. I just can't quite
remember the detail of that.
Maybe I'm just imagining it. It's totally a possibility.
So I'm pretty sure that we read somewhere that you could do everything in a 5x7 hoop. Mm-hmm. But that wouldn't include background quilting.
Right.
But if you have only a 5x7 machine, you could stitch the entire quilt. You would just be either doing your own quilting or sending it somewhere to be quilted. So for sure that would be fun. We can certainly then follow up on that. Kind of like we used to do.
Exactly.
You should try that.
We could try that.
Then we could do a class on Design Center IQ.
Yeah.
IQ Design Center.
IQ Designer.
IQ Designer. Okay, got it. So speaking of IQ Designer, there is a update coming out sometime. They said it was going to be sometime this week. I will say sometime in the next week. So I'm going to give them a couple more days.
I know, right? Because we're
it's already
halfway.
at Wednesday, so you know. But it should be in theory sometime in the next few days. But
of course, someone who has no affiliation to Brother whatsoever was 100%, or Baby Lack was 100% adamant that it was going to be tomorrow. So
maybe they know more than we do. Who knows? But the second update, which is version 1.03, will be available in the next week or so. And we actually did an unboxing of the Avenir, which is, of course, the same steps and all of the materials and tools and accessories are the same as the Radiance. So we just didn't do two.
Right.
So we did all of that.
I saw.
Did we post it, or did it just save? I didn't do anything with it.
I did not post it yet.
Okay.
Are the kits and fabrics available on your website? Yes, they will be. We are missing the embellishment kits for the 2 fabric kits that we have. So it says sold out.
Okay.
But you can view them on our website.
So we have what, 2?
We have 2 fabric kits available.
So we could just pop up 2 as an available option, and just as long as y'all understand it's not going to be ready immediately, we can change our inventory to 2.
I can do that right now.
Okay, let's do that. So if you give us just a few minutes, the inventory will change, and you will be able to not only look at them, but place the order for, we have 2 fabric. We're waiting on the embellishment, so we wouldn't be able to ship it out or pick it up right away. But it certainly is an option. We have 2 of those available. If you're just looking designs only, that's always an option. Even if you're in the middle of the year, it's an option. So if you decide to pick it up and just use your fabrics or whatnot in the middle of the year, nothing wrong with that either. And you can purchase an individual quilt block. So if you see, oh, I just really like April's. I have no idea what April's is. We haven't seen it yet, but maybe you fall in love with April's. You can buy the design just for April's. No problem. So
we don't have those up individually yet.
No,
but we will put them up as
we
they
go.
become available. So
Yep.
All right. So the full bundle is available at $213.94. If you are on our website, LeabuSewingCenter.com, and you type in Wallflower, WALL flower, those should pop up. I can definitely get more embellishment kits. So if you still want in and you just want designs and embellishments,
we can certainly take care of that.
Or you just need an embellishment kit, because we didn't break those up individually. If you just email me and let me know that you are interested in one, then I will make sure that we get you one. We can always send you
just send you an invoice for that particular item,
for that particular thing, or handle it over the telephone, because they'll probably tell you can't purchase it out of stock.
If it's out of stock.
So let's just speak freely about Kimberbell. Part of the reason why we don't have a surplus of these, normally we would have 6 or 8 of these just on the wall on the thing. But with the new way that Kimberbell is going, Kimberbell sales at our store are definitely down. So less people are buying from us and more people are buying directly from Kimberbell. So it has made us a little bit gun shy on holding on to Kimberbell stock, because
it's just sitting.
It's sitting here because Kimberbell used to be our wholesaler, and now they are our competitor, and they are literally selling to you sometimes
cheaper than what we have to buy it for.
Yes, at less expensive than what we can buy, which has meant that it's made things a little bit more difficult for us. We absolutely love Kimberbell.
Absolutely love the product, and we know you guys love the product. But our approach at inventory of Kimberbell, where we used to carry literally like 6 of every SKU they had, we just can't do that. It's just not going like it once was. So,
right.
we always still bring in all of the brand new things because we take pre-orders for those. So we have an idea of who wants it, and we can get a better estimate of what we actually should be ordering on those. Yep.
But if you're also wondering, like maybe there are other places that you used to buy your kits from and
and it's different there.
They
That's
don't
probably
seem
the
to
same.
have inventory.
Yep.
I think we're all kind of feeling the same thing right now.
Outside of a fabric kit where we make X number of fabric kits, and then those fabrics are, it's hard to make more fabric kits. We have to do those in bulk. You can't just make one. It doesn't work that way. But outside of fabric, we can get any of the current product line. So if there's something that you're looking for, we're always happy to help you. It's just unfortunately, we can't carry 6 of everything here.
No,
anymore,
and we can't always, we can't beat and match the Kimberbell special. So, and
what
again,
if we could, but unfortunately, that's,
we, while we're sad about it and things change. I mean, that's the way of business, and there's no hard feelings between us and
we
Kimberbell.
just have to look at, some other options because
that's right.
We
we have to pivot. That's what we've been doing since COVID, right? We have learned to
assess the situation and pivot to the area that we need to go to, and so, which is why I said it doesn't have to be a Kimberbell project. Mm-mm. Everything that we talked about today is relative to no matter what you're sitting down project wise to do. If you get everything organized before you sit down to start, it will be a much more pleasurable experience instead of sitting there. Now, where's that little tiny 2x2 piece of fabric that, fell out and it's, the dog took it and, ran or whatever. Or the cat. I mean, cats, I hear like fabric and things too.
Oh yeah.
So, and I think cats are a little bit more, they want to tell you what to do and be right in the middle of what you're doing.
Yes. Let me help you.
I mean, how many pictures have you guys seen of a cat like in the sewing machine?
Yeah.
Can't sew with the cat there. But yeah, so these techniques that we talked about today are relative to all things. It doesn't have to be even a large quilt. Mm-hmm. It could be just a couple miscellaneous steps to get to whatever that project happens to be. But if you have, I bought 12 by 12 by, I don't know what are that 4 inches ish or something like that, those boxes for project boxes, so that I'm like, okay, I bought all this and it goes together. So when I sit down to actually have time to do that, I'm not searching my craft room for whatever all of those parts out. I put them all together and then I work right out of that box as I'm doing those projects. If I finish a square, it goes into that box, so this lovely quilted jacket that I've been working on, it's all in one spot. I've got everything all together. Unfortunately, the jacket's not made yet, but the fabrics and all of the squares that I do have are all in one spot. So when I do have time to sit down and work on it, it's all right there. So having those ingrained habits to prepping and getting your projects put together it's certainly very helpful. So,
aw, Marilyn, that's so nice.
That is, you don't get the help. You're right, and we appreciate that.
Yes. So, speaking of projects, I'm going to grab the clam up bag. So
for sure. So we have acquired a new teacher to come into the shop. She teaches around a few other shops as well, but she's been a customer of ours for a long time, and we haven't really had outside teachers. It's always been an in-house, whatever we teach, one of us does it. So Jan is a great instructor. She has got a lot of experience and was very excited to get to come and play here. So this is the clam up. So get your clam on. This class is on Tuesday, February 18th. It is an in-store class, so this is not going to be a virtual option. And you make the whole set. So the little guy,
you're going to make the extra large in class.
Yes, but you get the pattern for the whole thing. So you've got the extra small, which can be turned into a walk your dog little baggie, so that you've got what you need there. So my little Jack, he made that little bag so I could use that.
So cute.
And then you get, again, the information to make all of these. So extra small, small, medium, extra large, and large. So you get the whole pattern bundle. And I'm sorry, did you say extra large or large?
Extra large.
Extra large is what will be made in class. So you'll learn the zippers, the tabs, the quilting, the whole shebang.
And your fabric kit will be this fabric, this zipper. You won't do the extra large embroidery in class, but she is going to talk about how you can do that with the templates and where you would put all your stuff.
Yep. So there's You can, I mean, it's very nicely finished. So that is upcoming, and we do have.
There's a little QR code there that'll take them
I'm not
right
sure
there.
if you guys want to pause your screen and QR code that will take you right to the page to sign up for class. Again, the class is February 18th, which is a Tuesday. It is in store, and
It's
it is only
10 to 2:30.
Yep, it is only $69.90 for the class fee and your materials.
Right, materials and your pattern.
Yep, and Jan. So there you go. And then this particular one, I think she's going to talk about. This has a vinyl lining, so she'll talk about those different options and things as well.
And I think we only have 4 more seats available for the class, so it's filling up quickly.
It's very popular. And then this is by Annie's.
Yes.
And she's got some other classes that is by Annie's. And and then there's other patterns that are, again, bag patterns that are by Noodlehead that have a different vibe. So this is kind of a quilter vibe, using the 1/4-inch seam, quilting the outside of the bags, those kinds of things. And then the Noodlehead is a little bit more contemporary, maybe. So hardware, maybe some embroidery, actually with an embroidery design. And things on the fronts of the bags. So some different options.
Jan says, remember, time is a 4-letter word, and Mom said to never say 4-letter words.
Well, thank you.
Actually, no. This is done regular sewing. So she did the embroidery part extra large, the names in the embroidery machine, but those were done before
separate
the bag.
From the bag being made.
This is actually a sewing project. So
so all of the specific bag, anything that Jan is teaching is a sewing bag class. So you can embellish with embroidery, and that will be part of the discussion. But that would actually be done prior to coming with, like, the Noodlehead. Say you want to do an embroidery on the front of the bag, you would have to do that.
A prep class.
A prep for this is how you would do that. It would be a little bit separate, if you will, from the actual bag making class. So
and Jan is not opposed to attempting to do some virtual classes at some point.
But we're not going to start that way.
She doesn't have any experience using the cameras and doing any of that. So, but she does have lots of experience teaching. So, the whole purpose of this was to sort of alleviate some of the stress off of our shoulders and
still offer different things here.
Yes.
And we certainly are more than happy to work with her to get the technology set up and everything, because we have it all set up.
But it won't be right away.
But it won't be the first couple classes. But she said she was open to doing that. So but very fun. We're very excited because we get to have classes that we don't have to plan and stress over.
Right.
Because as much as we both love classes, there's a lot going on with that. So wrap up. It's 4:30. Steps here. What we talked about today: starch, press, cut, sort, get organized, find a box, put it all together.
That's right.
And
we will not have a live next week because Lisa is going to be out of town.
Going out of town.
But I will be sending out videos and video links next Wednesday with the stitch outs. We'll be working on that until she goes, and then whatever she doesn't finish, I'll be working on. So
unexpected, but have to go. So
yes. And Rebecca, I haven't stopped doing virtual bag classes, so there will be more to come. Jan is just, we've had some people asking about Annie's bags and different things, and there are just not enough hours in the day. This allows us to teach more variety.
And it's nice because, fortunately for us, she has a range of classes that she already has all of the prep work done for. So it's not like, hey, can you make this bag? And she has to start over. Right. She gave us a whole slew of what would you like me to teach? And we were like, that one and that one and that one and then that one. And then, so that was really great. But there's definitely a lot of options, but it just frees us up a little bit more to plans for some other classes that aren't necessarily there.
Yep.
And it also, I think, everybody, like, even if you taught the exact same class, there would be a different tip or trick, because how you do things is different than how I do things, and how, you know, I mean, we all have our own thing.
Yep.
So it's always a wonderful thing to get a new take, even if it's on the same thing. So, you know, maybe somebody has a great zipper trick that
That's right.
neither one of us have tried before.
And you never know. Jan already made the sample, so I might be able to teach a class off her sample. I might be able to piggyback off hers and do a virtual.
So yeah, we are definitely very excited. We are hoping to have a lot of classes this year. It's just a matter, we've got to find the right ones. So you know, if there is a specific class, we always love ideas. It doesn't mean we can make it happen, but we don't even know if you don't tell us. So if there's something that you guys are looking for, by all means, shoot us an email, drop a comment, whatever, and let us know, you know, hey, this would be really great. I think this would be a fun class, or whatnot. So yeah, so there's
and you've got a scan and cut class coming.
I do have a scan and cut class coming. We are going to do glass etching, which involves cutting craft vinyl, which is like a sticker vinyl. And to add to that, if you've taken that class before, it's been many years since we've done it here, but we're going to add, and we're also going to talk about how to color your etching, which we've never talked about before. So we're going to have a little bit of extra bonus at the end of class.
And that is a combo, right? In person and virtual?
That is, yes, that's a hybrid. So you can pick whichever way you would like to go. If you are in store, we have, you know, all of the materials here. If you are virtual, we will send you the glass that we're using, the file. You'll even get a brush, but you'll have to find your own etching cream. The bottles are just incredibly expensive, even for the small ones. So without knowing how many to buy and whatnot, we just said this is
right. Well, and I don't know that incredibly expensive is the right word.
That's not
but it
fair.
Doesn't make
it's
sense.
Way more than it was.
Right. I mean, we're talking
a couple years ago.
$12 to $15.
$12 to $15.
But to add that, and plus the shipping to get it here and then ship it to you,
it just didn't make any sense, because I'd have to pay the $12 to $15. I can't charge you. I've got to make something on the whole system.
Right.
Otherwise, I can't do it anyway. So it just made more sense to have you guys go ahead and grab it. And then you can say, I just want the little bottle because I want to learn it. Or I know I'm going to do, you know, I'm going to do everybody glasses for Christmas. I want the big bottle. So you invest in that one instead. You know, it just makes more sense all the way around. So, yeah, incredibly expensive was not fair. Thank you for that. But expectations.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God.
I can never afford to do that. No, not at all. But it's a lot of fun. It's not complicated, which is the wonderful thing. So we're going to talk about different types of product. And this particular is a Easter design that I came up with. It's got bunnies and grass and flowers and eggs that we're going to put on there. So, and then coloring it purple or pink or whatever would be fun.
Right.
So there you go. That is that class coming up.
And quick question. Have you decided whether or not you'll record yours?
I don't usually record them. I'll think about that. We'll see how it goes. I probably could manage to do that. It's just the editing that's so hard.
I know. It takes a long time.
Yeah, I can probably come up with a way to do that. Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go.
She said it live to the masses.
Live to the mass. There you go. I'm tied.
You twisted her arm.
Yep. So yeah, no worries at all. Yeah. So lots of fun things that are coming. And like we said, we did the unboxing video for the new top of the line. And so we're going to slowly start doing those classes that we've talked about ahead of time as well. Yep. And yeah, that's what's going on around here. So we do have a floor model open. If anybody is wanting to come see the new machine, we do have one open on the floor now. So please feel free to come on in.
Yep.
We'll learn right next to you because we haven't had much time to play on it either. So, but we're very excited.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So thanks for hanging with us today. It's been a lot of fun. I'm definitely in the organizing state of mind right now. I'm buying things at home. I bought a new thing for my pantry. I bought spice rack organizers. I'm in the organizing mood.
I know. I'm so close to being able to show my fabric space.
Yeah, we are not in the ready space to show the craft room again at home. So let's not do that for another few months yet. But yeah, so you're getting there. All right. Thanks again. We appreciate you guys hanging out. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all those good things. I was going to ask you to add that, and we got so busy today. If you did not know, we are open till 7 p.m. on Mondays. So if you are needing to come in after work and that is the only time frame that works for you, you can bring your machine in for repair, pick one up, all those good things, or come pick up those threads and stabilizers that you need. So 10 to 7 on Mondays.
And come visit Lisa.
And come see me. So, all right. See you guys next time. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.